Welcome everybody, another edition of Lessons in Tanya. It's good to be back. Last week, unfortunately, we had to postpone the class because of the events of our brothers and sisters in Israel. We dedicate our learning tonight for the safe return of 200 hostages and the return and the healing of all those that are injured, and peace between the Jews and the Israelis and their neighbors. May it come speedily in our day. Okay,
Amen.
so we're discussing the concept of klippa. Klippa means, if you remember just a short recap, klippa means it conceals and covers godliness. Now, everything in the world has godliness. Inanimate, a rock, a tree, an animal, everything has godliness. So the question is, can that godliness be recognized for what it is? For godliness. Or if it can be recognized, it could be utilized. If it can't be recognized, it cannot be utilized. So the unusable godliness, or put it this way, the unelevatable, I'm inventing words here, I know, but it's late, so. If I had a beer, I'd start slurring. So that's what's called the shalish klippas noigad, the shalish klippas atmeya, the three impure klippas. Why are they called impure? Not because they're bad or they're evil or they have to be destroyed, eradicated, or whatever word you want to use. It's because they can't be used as a tool to elevate the world towards godliness. That's why they're called impure. The other category is sort of gray, where yes, it's klippa, which is bad in the way that it covers godliness, but it has the potential to be redeemed, and that is where the Jewish person comes in. That's where he functions. That's where those are his parameters. So a person is supposed to interact with holy objects, stay away from impure objects, and utilize the things that are not yet pure or impure towards good purposes. So since klippas nega, let's begin with that note in the bottom of 113 in the old print, and the bottom of 115 in the new print. Since klippas nega is a mixture of good and evil, and again, if I'm using too many Hebrew terms, please feel free to interject and ask me to repeat it. Any action, utterance, and thought emanating from this klippa can be utilized for good or evil, because godliness is waiting for you to be categorized. Indeed, as the Alter Rebbe is going to explain now, the very same action, utterance, or thought may be holy if done for the sake of heaven, or evil if otherwise intended. And again, it's worth repeating that when the Alter Rebbe over here says evil, doesn't mean you're hurting another person. Evil means it's not done in the service of God. Service of God, i.e. productive. So now, vihi, and this klippas nega is the memutza, is bechinas memutzat. If the klippas nega is the intermediary category bein shalish klippas atmeyas, between the three impure klippas, legamri, they're totally impure, uvein bechinat baleget hakdusha, and between the levels of kedusha. So you have an etrog, a lemon, citron, whatever it's called. Is it holy? Is it impure? Or it's waiting?
It's waiting.
It depends what the esrog is. If the esrog is on a tree at the first 3 years, remember we learned the mitzvah of arla. First 3 years you can't utilize the fruit. So if you take an esrog off a tree in the first 3 years, it's unholy. No matter what you do with it, it's unholy. After 3 years, you pick the esrog to be used on sukkahs. It's not holy yet. Now it's just an esrog. You can eat it, do whatever you want with it. After you make the bracha on it, now the esrog is holy. You can't just take that esrog and throw it in the garbage. So some people wait to burn the chametz, some people put it outside, wait till it's all dried out and nasty, and it doesn't really turn nasty, it just becomes very dry, and then throw it out. So there you have, in one item, you have the spectrum, all three. But therefore, there's sometimes there's sometimes an item could be included in the three impure klipot, like it says in the Zohar. And sometimes and sometimes it can be elevated towards holiness, and that depends on you. The Hainu, what does it mean to be elevated? When the good is elevated, meaning when you take an esrog, which is just a lemon, and now you make a brach on it. And what makes it holy, by the way, is because God commanded it to be so. That's what makes it holy, and it's elevated. The gover v'ola, and it prevails, and it's elevated. V'nichlal b'kedusha. Now, why is he using these words? Gover, overpowering, because as we learned, I think in last class, the sparks of godliness and holiness in whatever item is so covered over. It's a big fight, meaning that the odds are stacked against good. Let's take a human being, for example. King Solomon called the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, an old, foolish king. And he called the Yetzer Tov, the good inclination. I said evil inclination before? I did say evil. And he called the Yetzer Tov, the good inclination, a young, wise boy. Because it says in Kabbalah that when a person is born, he's born with the Yetzer Hara, that evil inclination. He only gets his Yetzer Tov, his good inclination, fully by his bar or bat mitzvah, depending how he identifies. Okay. Here's the bad news. God doesn't care how you identify. God says, I created you. You identify however I say you identify. So it works that way for everything. And the person can't decide, identify as a non-Jew. It doesn't work that way. You are. So how do we? I was making fun of other people and I totally lost my train of thought. Right? So when a person turns bar or bat mitzvah, then the Yetzer Tov, the good inclination, enters him. That means the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, has a 13-year head start. That's why it's called the old king, but he's a fool because he's not giving good advice, sage advice. He's giving bad advice. The Yetzer Tov, the good inclination, is called a young boy, a young and wise boy. He's young, but what he's saying is wise. So it's a lot easier to do the wrong thing. It's a lot easier to eat fried food than to eat healthy. It's a lot easier to make bad decisions. Because I like sports, and we're in the football season. It's only right and customary to make a football reference. Sometimes you see a team make a play, and the defensive team or something will get angry and push, and the other guy will lose composure and will hit him, and then it will wipe out the whole game, set the team back 15 yards. Why? Because he lost composure.
Exactly.
It's a lot easier. I don't know. I didn't watch the Dolphin game. Did it happen in the Dolphin game?
It happened in the Dolphin game. It also happened in one of the games after the Dolphin game.
There you go. It's a lot easier to do the wrong thing. That's why he uses the word over here, gover. The good has to overpower to be elevated. Could go in, for example, Derech Moshe, just for example. Good thing Michael J is not here because we're giving an example of eating meat. Right? Michael J, if you're going to watch this later, it's a joke. I'm kidding. We love you. Please come back. Someone eats good fat meat, good grain, right? What do they call it? Good grain? Right? Prime. But when you look at the piece of meat, what are they looking for? The fat, marbling. That's the word I was looking for.
Marble.
But there you go. That's what I was looking for. Sorry. See, I don't really get it from the raw side. I usually have it. My wife makes it cooked, right?
You really?
Yeah. Listen, I could talk a big game. She's not here, and she doesn't watch my class.
Wagyu there's no version of Wagyu that's kosher?
I don't know what's Wagyu.
It's a type of cow.
Why wouldn't it be kosher?
Just wondering,
I mean, maybe it might be very expensive.
The only thing that would make it unkosher is the way it was butchered.
Yeah. What about the way it's raised purposefully to make it, like they feed it only like a very fatty,
That
high,
doesn't-
I don't know. It's just like
That doesn't make
It's
sense.
like it drinks beers.
They serve the cow beer.
Yes.
You're talking
Hello, in the Tanya
you're
and class
talking about
beer.
Kobe Wagyu is an American variety of that same type of
You sure it's not the other way
line
around?
of heifer. No, Kobe is from Kobe Prefecture in Japan, same as Champagne is from Champagne, France. It is from that region, and it's
Do they?
it's massage,
And
it's drink beer.
Yeah, I heard that. They
It's
massage-
all types of things that's special to
Yeah,
its
yeah,
diet.
it's kosher.
What about like
it lives
what they
a
do
luxury
with
life.
the ducks?
The geese, you mean?
The
They
geese.
stuff the geese. It's still kosher.
Well,
It's-
they
it-
don't even let them walk around.
So you're asking a different question. You're asking if the animal is mistreated while it's alive. Does it make
Yes,
it answer?
yes.
Answer that. The simple answer is yes.
You're still allowed to eat it?
As long as it's slaughtered
I
correctly.
mean, the other person it is wrong for mistreating the animal. But even if a person mistreats an animal, let's say on the other side, let's say a guy deprives his cow of water or food, and it's emaciated. It's alive. I mean, it's not very healthy, but it's not dying anytime soon. You can slaughter the animal. Meaning, well, actually, from this week's Torah portion, that's one of the mitzvahs in this week's Torah portion. You're not allowed to mistreat animals. Now, I don't know if making a cow drink beer is mistreatment. I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine the cow wants to drink beer.
It's Bud Light.
There you go.
By the way, that is mistreatment. Making a cow drink Bud Light. Liberal cow. That's it. I am not eating Wagyu. I want a Republican cow.
We won't go there.
Yeah, exactly. It was a joke.
Republican cars, they're smart enough not to walk into the slaughterhouse.
Exactly,
The
right.
Democrat ones think that they can turn it into a peace
What
rally.
is that exactly?
They
Save the
show-
cows.
yeah.
Come here. Yeah,
Show it
yeah,
to
exactly.
Protest. What's going on?
Okay, so if someone eats meat, fatty meat, v'shota yayin b'vusam, and drinks spicy wine, why? It's not a question of if, so much as it's a question of why. So certain things you're not allowed to do, so we don't care about why. Okay? And certain things are holy because it's bad.
Why don't we care about why?
Because if God says you don't eat it or don't do it, I don't care why you're doing it. You can't do it, or period. So now, and certain things are holy. We also don't care about why. The why, when it's holy or impure, only factor in the how much reward you're going to get, or how much. So obviously, doing a mitzvah with intent and love and enthusiasm is a lot better than just going through the motions. Obviously, but even if a person doesn't have the right intent, we tell them put on tefillin. I don't understand. It's okay. Put on tefillin anyway, right? But when it comes to klippas nega, when it comes to permitted things, there the question becomes, why? Now that's where it factors in a lot, because it's not bad and it's not good. What makes it bad or good is how you approach it. So if the guy continuing inside, if he eats this good food, laharchiv date lashem otrasai, in order to broaden his mind, because in order to function well on a physical level, on a spiritual level, in order to function well on a spiritual level, you have to be a healthy human being. So if a guy comes in and he says, I'm going to be holy, and I'm going to skip breakfast and go straight to the study hall, reality is going to kick in and you're going to be hungry. And you're not going to be able
To study as well as
to study. The guy says, listen, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to have a decent breakfast, whatever decent breakfast is, right? Bagels, lox, and cream cheese. Obviously, he's Jewish, duh, right?
That's what we're gonna have tomorrow.
The person decides I'm gonna have a decent meal. Why? In order, because I need to have energy to learn. And that's one example. So, if for example, the Gemara gives the Alter Rebbe brings an example from the Gemara that Rava, who was one of the greatest rabbis of all time, and was the head of the yeshiva in a city in Babylon called Pumpadisa, and he said, that's the name of the town. There was a very, very big yeshiva there. Surah, Pumpadisa, these are all Naharda, these are all Babylonian cities. That it was a massive Jewish community. He said, wine and fragrance make my mind more receptive.
Do you think they said Pumpadita or Pumpadisa?
I have no idea. They probably said Pumpadisa.
I think they said Pumpadita.
Listen, this is where you're 1,000,000% wrong.
Yeah.
Because the tough and the soft are for sure different pronunciations. Just like bet and vet. Bet and vet also have a dot. The bet and the vet have different sounds. Is it? Listen, it's over. Listen, over
You
time.
might be wrong. And
I'm-
then all
I
of
am-
this explanation is just like an
I
effort.
might be wrong. I might be wrong. I'm
done
not,
in vain.
but I might be. Yeah,
Probably wrong.
but probably not.
According to every
because-
other source I've ever heard.
No, actually, anyone who studied Jewish literature and Jewish pronunciation.
Melita.
So I'm telling you though, they know that there's certain letters that have a double
I
pronunciation.
know this. I know this. This
Tough
is
is one of them.
This is not a. This is every elementary school kid would know that.
Okay, so tough is one of them.
Correct.
So what's the second pronunciation for tough?
I'm just wondering if they pronounce it Pumbedita. That's all.
You're asking if it had a tough or
No,
a
you're
tough.
trying to turn it into a grammar lesson, and that's not what we're doing here.
Yeah.
I
So
wonder if
listen,
they.
Tanya,
I
just-
wonder if they called the yeshiva Pumbedita.
You're just being.
Pumbedita.
Maybe. Well, I guess we'll have to ask him.
We're gonna have to go. back.
Rava, forget about all the Torah you can teach
Well,
us.
well,
We want to know.
Michael J comes back with his time machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Back to the Future.
Or for example, b'shvil kedei l'kai mitzvahs einig Shabbos v'yom tov. If he has a good meal, walking on Shabbos, it is a mitzvah to have a good meal. There's a mitzvah, not just to eat. There's a mitzvah to have good food. And the Gemara has a story where I think it was a Rabbah, different from Rava, that he would walk in the market and see something on Monday. Oh, this is good for Shabbos. Then he would see better food. Ah, this is good for Shabbos. And on Tuesday, oh, this is better for Shabbos. I mean, and it was nice, good, juicy food, whatever it was. Are you familiar with the story of Yosef Mocha Shabbos? You ever heard the story of Yosef Mocha Shabbos? You heard so there's the story of the Gemara of a man named Yosef Mocha Shabbos. The man Yosef who Mokir, the Yakar, help me.
Mochel.
No, Mokir with a kuf. Yosef Mokir Shabbos. It was precious to him. Shabbos, because the guy was dirt poor, but he would save almost everything. He would eat pretty much bread and water the entire week in order to save all his money for all his earnings for the week, and he would buy the best food for Shabbat and he'd invite people. The Gemara tells us there was once a man, a Gentile man, not a very nice guy, who went to see an astrologer, and the astrologer said, I see in the stars that all your possessions are going to be taken away and given to a Jew named Yosef. The Gemara continues that the guy was freaking out, so he sold, pretty much liquidated all of his possessions, and he bought a big, like a precious stone, and he hid it had it sewn into his hat. He thought, now no one can take it away, and he was walking. He was either on a ship or on a bridge or something. His hat flew off, fell into the water, and the Gemara says that a fish came and swallowed it, and was a nice big fish, because I had to imagine had swallowed the hat. And Yosef came to the market, and he said, "Oh, this is a fish for Shabbos. Hello!" And he brought it home, and his wife opened it up, and he found it, and he went to the rabbi and says, "Am I allowed to keep this?" The rabbi said, "Yeah. I mean, it has no identifying mark." And obviously, the guy gave up, and Yosef became a very, very wealthy man. And the lesson is over there that the idea is if you beautify Shabbos, if you embellish and you honor Shabbos, it comes back to you. But the point is that having good food on Shabbos is not just okay; it's a mitzvah. What's your problem?
No, the point is that fortune teller sucked.
No.
She was completely wrong.
She was right.
Watch
You
it.
When
just
she
had to
says-
fulfill the prophecy.
What do you mean? He said that Yosef would get you money, and he got his money. What do you mean? Why?
Watch out! Don't hold on to that hat.
No, the fortune teller didn't tell to put it in a hat.
I would have gone back to the fortune. I was laughing because I was
There's no
smiling. 'cause
refunds of that fortune.
I'm just imagining going back to the fortune
Did
teller.
she give a guarantee?
Like, did you see me losing the hat
Right.
on the boat?
It must have gone.
Was there a
It's like,
boat?
how come a fortune
He didn't-
teller-
What about the
fortune
boat?
teller
He didn't-
doesn't
he
win
didn't-
the Powerball?
He didn't pay the premium. He had to put in one more dollar, right?
No, how come
If you
a
want to
fortune
continue.
teller doesn't win the Powerball.
Exactly.
This is-
Yeah.
Okay.
This is why I was smiling. I was just thinking.
Anyway, but the point is, no. But it's a very, very important idea in Judaism that we don't. We were talking about this in the previous class. We don't shun the physical world. We're here to interact with it and to utilize it and to benefit from it and to even have a good time with it. But it all depends under what context. If you're doing it for constructive purpose, either because you need energy to, let's say, better needing energy to go to work, so you can send your kid to a Jewish school, or or to buy Jewish kosher food, or to have good food for Shabbos, then the work, or to give charity, then the work is not just indulgent because I need to live; it's to serve a greater purpose. Azai, then continuing on 115 or 117 in the new book. Azai, then when a person has that mind frame, when he has that approach, this barach chayut basar vayayin, then the vitality, the godliness that is inside everything, that vitality that's inside the meat and wine, which is nishpa, which until this point was receiving its vitality via klipat noga, because godliness was in there, but it wasn't yet used for anything good. For Ola Lashem, now it's elevated to godliness, just like a sacrifice. The Omer, and same thing doesn't only mean eating, also speaking. And some people think that to be religious means you got to be going like a white knuckle 100 miles an hour the entire time. That's not true. You can relax and have conversations. The question is, what purpose does it serve? So you're saying, for example, Milsa de B'dichasa. So many times, public speakers say a joke before a speech. Why do they do that?
Loosen up the crowd.
Loosen up the crowd too, because when you come in, you sit down.
Also to get their attention. But there are
Yeah,
other ways to get their
but I'm
attention.
saying loosen the crowd, because you sit down and say, I'm going to listen to this shmuck. What does this guy have to offer me, right? That I don't already know, right? I got to sit there for the next one. Is this guy going to shut up already, right? So you think I don't know how you guys look at me? I know how you guys look at me.
I used to be in
Projecting
speech and
much,
debate. I used to be in speech and debate, and I used to be.
I
it was
object.
Exactly.
No, we used to. It was called extemporaneous speaking. They gave me a thing on. You walk up out of an envelope. You pull a topic. I pulled the economy. So, from the time that you walk from where you pull the envelope up to the front of the room where you're going.
This is in
make
Florida, South
Yeah,
Florida.
this is South Florida. I reached into my wallet. I pulled out $1. I held it up in front of like 7 people that were sitting there, and the economy. How can I make this interesting? Take the $1 and rip it in half. I say, this is what your dollar is worth now.
So there you go.
Got their attention.
There you go. So you can do something that's not necessarily written in the Torah, but if it's serving a greater purpose, like giving saying a joke. Before learning, it says why to open a person's mind. To be joyous, to his to Torah and to his service, because a Jew has to serve God with joy, and we find that Rava would do that also. Rava, who we just use an example from him in the previous page, Rava was a rabbi, one of the largest schools of rabbis at the time, like advanced college. Not talking about grade school, talking about the Harvard of. Harvard's not a good example to give now. Anyway, also Columbia. No,
Majority
Columbia.
of Jewry
The
was
Princeton.
in Babylon, and Surah and Pumbedita were the 2 largest schools.
The Pumbaa the what?
The Pumbaa.
Pumbaa the what?
The Pumbaa to be decided.
You heard of Simone Pumbaa?
Yeah,
Yeah, the Pumbaa school.
yeah.
To you, Pumbaa, everything is a ball of
Do you,
gas.
Exactly.
do you know enough, like in terms of like the people that came out of it, to say that you prefer Surah or Pumbedita? Like, do you have a preference? No.
No, I haven't studied them. I have a good book over there. It's a very good
Gone
book.
through like a 4-hour lecture on them. I don't remember enough of it, but like, there's definitely a moment where one of them was like dying off.
Yeah, well, the
And
Jewish
the
community in
other-
Iraq was there for a very, very, very long time,
Yeah.
hundreds and hundreds of years.
It's just that, like right before, like it was, there was the very last Rosh Yeshiva of one of them was like a great, I don't know, it
Rosh Kalusa Sadia going?
may have been Sadia.
But that was
May have
way
been
later. I
Sadia.
mean, the Jewish community was
It may
longer.
have been Sadia. Anyways,
It was longer in Iraq than it was in Israel.
Yeah.
Just to give.
well,
But the Jewish community was
it's longer
in
Egypt
Iraq.
also.
No, not like Iraq. Jewish community was in
There
Iraq.
was a population in Alexandria for
But that was
a
later.
long time.
Yeah, but that was more from the second. I mean, the Jewish community was in Iraq.
Jeremiah.
Yeah, it was in Iraq from the mid first temple, from the middle of the first temple. That means until
in Egypt
until
before.
1953. Yeah, it's true.
That's why I'm saying.
What predates that?
You know what happened? We
Yeah.
They've eaten?
Like 200 years.
You know what
We were in
happened?
Egypt for like 200.
we forgot when we emptied out Egypt. We forgot to roll the toilet paper from the hotel room in the towels. We went back.
We never exactly.
Anyway.
Alright.
However, that's if you do whatever you're doing for good reasons. However, page 116 in the old print, 118 in the new print. However, on the other hand, mi shehu bezulale basa, v'sivayai and so on. It was a glutton. He just eats meat and quaffs wine. Lamalas tavasai gufay.
New favorite word.
Yeah, in order to satisfy his bodily appetite and desire. B'nafshay habahamis, and his animal soul. He asked him, why you eating like that? Yeah, because I like it. Makes me feel good. Shehu b'chinas yisoid hamayim. Going back to the first chapter. At the end of the first chapter, we said that water is the source of all pleasurable things. Water has this calming effect on people. So this is the evil element of water. That person just does it because it feels good.
Wait, every element has an evil aspect, or
Yes.
water is the evil?
All four
Ah,
elements.
okay.
So
I
fire has
An evil aspect.
excitement and there's anger.
Ah.
Wind. So everything is good and bad.
Very cool. I'm glad so water is
Water is desire.
it's the gluttony.
It's desire. All pleasurable things have water.
Yeah, okay.
Hine ayideze. Now what happens? See, this cow is just a cow. The cow is not unholy because it was consumed in proper manner. The cow doesn't. You're the one who makes it unholy. Right? I mean, let's get controversial because we spoke about Republican Democrats. We spoke about gender, right? So let's continue getting controversial, right? Tell you about black people. No, I'm kidding. So one of the controversial arguments is about guns, right?
Is it?
Do people hurt people or do guns hurt people? So people who are pro guns, they say,
Never seen a trigger pull the trigger.
right, you never seen a gun, right? One guy wrote, I left a gun on my night table, whatever it is. Obviously, it's being facetious. I came back and it was right there. Didn't shoot anybody, right? So now the problem with the gun is it's used to hurt people. That's like when they built the temple, you weren't allowed to use metal in the construction of the temple because metal swords are used to hurt people. So even though maybe obviously the sword needs someone to wield it.
What about gold?
No, but I'm talking about in order to carve and to hew the stones. There was a lot of beauty. There was a lot of beauty.
Gold?
This temple was made out of stone.
How are they hewing the stones?
So there's actually an argument. No. Listen. So there's an interesting debate about this. One rabbi says that prohibition only applied on the Temple Mount, didn't apply away because a lot of the stones the quarry was away. So another rabbi says that's not true. And there's an interesting measure. I know you're going to find this fantastical. I'm going to present it to you because that's
We can't wait. We're gonna get into. There better be a worm in this story.
yeah, the shamir worm.
There better be a worm.
So the shamir worm. The shamir worm is this worm, and again, I haven't studied it. I don't know that it has this ability. It excretes something that cuts through very hard materials, and they use that. The measures the crazy measures. You want to go? I mean, the measures goes crazy with this. That God communicated to Solomon exactly where to find it, how to get it, and it's a really, really. I mean, I don't want to get into Ashmandain. I know you. We're not going there.
I don't believe in that.
We're not going there. Anyway.
That part I don't.
All right.
I don't want you to get off on that nonsense.
Okay.
I want you to stick to the stone hewing.
Anyway.
I asked specifically because I knew it was a trap.
I know. And I fell into it. Hook, line, and sinker. But the point is the cow, the wine isn't bad. It's very good wine and very good meat and very delicious chocolate cake is not bad. What's making it bad is you. I don't mean your all present company excluded, right? I mean it's how you utilize it. Don't blame the cow because you can't control yourself. Don't blame the Danish. You're the one that has a problem. Right? And remember the story I told you, I repeated it a million times, but the guy who was devouring the chicken. Remember the story? Yeah, I read it impossible. Remember this?
I'm old.
I love it.
I forget
I
something.
love chicken.
But the
Love it.
guy was devouring the chicken. I've told the story so many times.
Rabbi.
And the Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, who founded the Muslim movement, came up to him and said, "You love chicken?" He said, "I love chicken." He said, you telling me you love this chicken?" He said, "I love the chicken."
I love chicken.
He said, "You know what they did to this poor chicken? They slaughtered it, they salted it, they plucked its feathers, they put it in the oven, and now you're consuming it. You do that with everybody you love. You don't love the chicken, you love yourself." Right? So if a person utilizes something for the wrong purposes, don't blame it on the item. You're the one who lost control. That's what you're saying. So now when you the person misuse something, so now the vitality that now had the ability to be used for good is lowered into the purpose of evil. So sometimes we find, I'm gonna get a little controversial here, that Jewish people can sink to depravity lower than, let's call it, regular folk. Right? I once had a guy tell me, and I'm going based on his testimony. He says, "You know, Rabbi, Jewish comedians, they're so much more gory and vulgar and dirty. Why can't they be like everyone else?" He said, like guys like Adam Sandler and Andrew Dice Clay. And he started listing off all these guys. They're just disgusting. Why? We Jews are supposed to be better than them, and we come out looking so much worse. So to give the Chassidic answer, the Kabbalistic answer is because the Jewish people have the ability to raise up, but you also have the ability to fall down. So when a person acts like an animal's goal is to just embellish itself and indulge itself, and just to, cow walks by the mirror and says, "That's I want my family to Vermont, right? We stood next to a dairy cow. I never know how big these things are.
Oh,
Have you ever stood next to a dairy cow?
I've been to slaughterhouses. Yeah, I love cows. They're great.
Yeah, I also do.
I like the live ones. I
Yeah.
like them both.
Yeah, I was like, we went to see them.
They live a good life, though. The dairy cows.
They're huge. I mean tall.
Yeah.
They're like 6 feet tall, like 6. You know what I'm saying? And they're because in the pictures in the books for kids, they come as all cutesy little. These things are monsters, right? But the cow's a cow. The cow eats grass, and the cow does because he acts like a cow. But when you act like a cow, when we tell the person it was just indulging himself, not eating for any reason other than he wants to feel better about himself. Not only are you like the cow, you're worse than the cow, because you have the ability to do something better. Sometimes you have a guy with learning disability. And he'll read something and everyone will be like, "Yay!" Another person will do the same thing. And no applause. I don't get an applause because you have a lot greater potential. So no, you're not getting applause for doing. I once heard a guy give an example, something like that. He says, when I was 5 years old, says I drew a picture for my tati, my father, right? A hand. My tati was so happy, because I drew my picture. Now I'm 40 years old, and I want to do something for my father. So I drew a picture of my hand. I sent it to him. My father calls me up and says, "Is everything okay?" Like, "What's wrong with you?" It's like, "No, I wanted to make you happy." I'm not getting it. So you were so happy then? Yeah, because
you were this.
a pizza lakin. Now it doesn't make sense. Not only doesn't make sense, it's unbecoming of you. So our job is to elevate the world. So the worst thing could be not only when we don't utilize our potential.
What are you, retarded?
What is that from? Is that from someone? You're not allowed to say that word.
I just what?
Right.
You're not really. It's,
Certain words they go out of style, right?
Yeah.
Like no one says swell anymore, right? And it's one of those words that
Surfers do.
surfers do.
There's a good swell going on out there.
Swale. Yeah.
That joke.
Boogie boards.
Hang loose, man.
So he says when a person misuses the energy, so now what happens is the energy that was in that meat and wine is descends v'nichlal lefisha. Underline the words lefisha. It's included temporarily bara gomer in evil shebashalish klips atmeis. That means if you eat kosher food for the wrong reasons, it's not eternally damned because you can do teshuvah. So that's why it says over here temporarily. It's a sense. And he explain why at the bottom of the page. And this glutton's body becomes a garment, the vushim merkava, and a vehicle for these klippas. So not only are you not elevating, now you become a poster child for the concealment of godliness. Because what is concealment of godliness? Godliness is productivity. Godliness is everything has a reason. Klippa means just do it for no reason. You are the center of the universe. The Torah teaches us to look outward, to look how we can benefit the world, how we can benefit our communities. Klippa tells us look inward, only to focus on how you can benefit yourself. Now, Lefisha, why does he say temporarily? Until a person does teshuvah and he returns to the service of God with Torah and to his Torah. Why? Why does that work? Page 117 in the new print. For in that so much, in the old print, sorry, in the new print 119 probably. Ki lefisha haya basar heter ve'ayin kosher. The light's going to turn off in 1 minute. Because the wine was kosher, and the wine and the meat were kosher. Therefore, yecholim, it is possible lachser to go back, to return, to revert la'alois imoi, to elevate it b'shuva elevated Hashem. So in order to elevate to the service of Hashem. And here the Alter Rebbe goes off for a second and explains to us why food is called heter, mutar, and asur. Because mutar and asur really mean untied and tied. In Hebrew, a jail is called a beit asurim. When confined, asur means confined. So mutar means it's untied, means the godliness inside. Here we go. Sorry.
Alexa, Genesis 1.
That's my boy. I have to train. I have to train Alexa not to listen to them. Next time I'm going to do like a Genesis. Alexa, Genesis 1
What are you
verse.
pointing at? No one's sitting over there.
Exactly.
That was who said that?
Right.
Very
What I have AI responding to my comments
deep,
here.
godly voice.
Right.
I was like, come in, made light.
So mutter means that the godliness inside is untied, which means it can be utilized. If something's tied down, leave it alone. Usr means the godliness is there, but it's.
Can I get meta with you quickly? I don't want to take this too off.
Okay.
Is there? You said that Jews are capable of descending and making the worst kinds of examples.
I didn't say only.
You
No,
said
I know,
Andrew
I know.
Dice Clay
I
to
know.
Jerry Seinfeld spectrum.
Oh, this
You
guy's.
gave the spectrum.
By the way, this guy you were talking to, he's not a funny human being. He does not have a good sense of humor.
Okay, I'm just telling you what he. I mean, I can't speak
Whatever.
about.
You can't just
I'm not.
cancel out all of the funny guys and be like, that's not funny.
I'm so what he said. All right.
And anyways, but maybe it's because our mission is to bring
choose to
people
accept
to God, to make people
Yeah.
aware of Hashem.
Yeah.
It is a personal mission to do it by illuminating their eyes through Torah,
Right.
through mitzvot. But it is a much more self-centered, like what's the word for the water? It's just like it's pleasurable, it's easier, it's more.
Tava.
Yeah, it basically, as a Jew, I know somewhere inside my soul, I know that my purpose is to do this, but I'm gonna go about it doing the lazy version. I'm gonna make you sin in a way where your tikkun is, because your tikkun begins right when the chet is committed. So, like along the way, I'm also making all these tikkuns come about. Is there something that sort of
Are you saying a person? Maybe I'm misunderstanding. So correct
these
me.
Jews that are bad guys, these bad Jews making bad that harm in ways that it's very unique to the Jews that harm.
The point I was
our
trying
mission.
to make was that just like a person has the potential for tremendous good, in the
And the
counterbalance,
ones that do that
you also have
tremendous bad.
you also have the potential for tremendous
Right.
bad.
Now, those that choose to do it through tremendous bad, they're also like in their devious way, like causing all of these like tikkuns to come about.
I mean,
Like they're taking
maybe
all these.
I don't know if you're getting at this point, but some of the movements that harm Jews, like communism, for example, were started by Jews
Exactly.
because in their drive to improve the world
All of the
through.
ones that are internal too, like the Jacob Franks and the Shabtai Tzvis and all these bad
Yeah.
guys that like it's they along the way they think they can hack the system and look at all the tikkuns that I've forced about.
No, Shabtai Tzvi didn't force tikkun.
Well, no,
Shabtai
not him.
Tzvi-
You can go to Marx, all of them.
Yeah,
All of
I
them.
mean,
Marx didn't do it. Marx had
any
a
of them.
theory. Marx had a theory, and it was that, a theory.
Hold on.
It
Do you
was-
know
it
who
was-
Marx the
But-
person was?
but no, I'm saying, but
He was Jewish.
I'm trying to say
No,
no, he wasn't. I think his
He's-
grandfather.
No, his father was. His parents were.
His-
Like,
his father's
he
pa- his
married
father's
a
parents.
Jew, but trust me, like no, that guy. I don't
No, no, what I was trying to say is.
intellectuals. Well, that's a great version of.
So put it this way,
of
in
real
other words, basically to put it into shorter sentences,
Paul
a
Johnson
Jew is
loves
given a drive to improve the world. Every Jew has this ism sickness where we have a drive to improve the world because that's our mission given by Hashem. That's why we're given the Torah. Now, Hashem didn't leave it a secret how to make the world better, but some people throughout history have figured, I'm going to do it my own way. And instead of it being a vehicle for good, because this is going back to last week's Torah portion. Why didn't Hashem want Adam to eat from the tree of knowledge? What's so bad of knowing between good and bad? Because the problem is that we cannot be subjective and objective simultaneously. We can't. Only God can. That's what Hashem's telling Adam. Right now you live in the world of true and false. That's objective. You can't be true and false and good and bad, because good and bad necessarily are true and false. Right? I don't like olives. What are you talking about? Olives are delicious. That's not true or false. It's good and bad. So that's why Hashem says, guys, listen to me. Because I'm above it all, I can tell you what's really productive, what's really good. Now, good doesn't necessarily mean pleasurable. Good could sometimes mean hurtful, right? Like, let's say, for example, Israel right now has to do hurtful things. They're hurting people and they're killing people. Sometimes you have to do that. The mitzvah now, the IDF is to defend Jewish lives. That no matter how you cut it, it's a bad thing, but it's necessary. That's what you got to do. Not that, by the way, it doesn't mean it's bad, but it's necessary. So it came out wrong, so we'll let it go. That's the problem. No, because it's necessary, that's what has to be done. But it doesn't mean it's a nice thing to do. If a Kohen killed somebody, he was not allowed to serve in the temple. And it could be he killed somebody, he was let's say in the army, self-defense, or whatever it is. He would never not be allowed to serve in the temple. Let's say he fulfilled the mitzvah. Self-defense is a mitzvah. Serving in the Muhammad mitzvah. There's two different types of wars. There's a war that's let's say Israel, the Jewish people needed to expand the territory. I don't know, for whatever reason the king decided he needs to go to war, whatever it is. Right? and then there's the mitzvah. Then there's a war that's a mitzvah. God commanded to eradicate the 7 nations or Hamalek, right? That's a mitzvah. And in that war, everyone has to fight. Cohen, Levi, Israel, everyone fights. So say Cohen, he can't serve in the temple. Killing's bad. I mean, it's not pleasurable. It's hurtful, but it needs to be done. That's so that many people have this misunderstanding that mitzvah means it's a nice act, helping someone with their groceries, helping a granny cross the street. A mitzvah means a commandment. Sometimes a commandment means it's hurtful. Some mitzvahs hurt. So, for example, by a bris, you're not allowed to give a baby anesthetic. Do you not?
Yeah, but they give them wine.
Wine's not. But it doesn't say. We start drinking right away. Yeah, baby.
So in a way, to the baby, the wine is an anesthetic.
But it's not. But it's not. It's wine. So, no. What I'm saying
It's
is,
not a medication.
it's not a medication. First, by the way,
But it
way.
is an
You know,
anesthetic.
So first of all, by the way,
if you give it
Why?
sugar water,
So-
a baby
first of all, you
is
don't
also
give-
affected by sugar water.
right? You don't give sugar water. You
With
should know. By the way,
different
the
ways of
wine
doing it.
is only given to the baby after the bris. You should know.
After?
But during the bris, there's no wine. The baby is given wine after the bris. But during the bris, the baby doesn't have any anesthetic.
I went to off-brand ones.
What? Ever since Eric's slip, we've he's very worried about saying something.
I've been very PC tonight.
It's what
We'll get canceled.
you can't get more controversial than me. We made fun of everybody tonight. If we haven't made fun of you yet, I apologize. We'll get to you next week. but the idea is, when something is good, it's good. When something is bad, it's bad. Now sometimes you can misuse something. So through teshuva, what does teshuva do? Teshuva allows us to go back and look at our previous action and say, what I did was bad, was stupid. And I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to try to be better. So now that energy that was, let's take a step back. And I know it's getting late, but why does someone usually do something wrong? It usually comes down to one thing, because I feel like it at this moment. It makes sense to me, or it's pleasurable for me at this moment. What does teshuva mean? Teshuva, you go back and you feel sour and you feel bad about that act. So you suck out all that juice of enjoyment that you had. You totally drain it. So what you at one time found pleasurable, now you find despicable. That's teshuva. So you suck out all the light. You obviously can go back and undo what you did, but it's the motivation here that was the problem. Make sense? So he previously ate the food with selfish intent, but if he does teshuva, now he can elevate it. This is what it means, permissible. It's not tied down to extraneous forces. It can be elevated. It is nothing preventing it from returning and ascending to God. So now the Alter Rebbe is going to say, maybe we should stop here 1 second. Yeah, we're going to stop here. We're going to stop here. Let's make a note. Alter Rebbe is now going to get into an idea, which is a little bit of, I don't know, bad news, or the idea we have to get comfortable is, just because you say I'm sorry, it doesn't mean there is no mark or no impact left. So let's say I do something wrong to you, right? I stole from you, or not, let's say not that, 'cause that's money, I can replace that. But let's say I belittled you, or let's say I hurt you emotionally in some way. I don't know, whatever it is, right? So let's say I make a hole in the wall, and you do your best to cover it over. It'll never be fresh as new, because Alter Rebbe is going to get into the idea. Let's say a person sins and does teshuva. Does he still have to, after 120 and his soul ascends, does he still have to go through a rectification process? If he did teshuva, then seemingly not. Alter Rebbe is going to say he does, because there is an impact left. We're going to get into it next time. Any questions?
Nope.
Yay, nay? I think you're going to appreciate next one. It's going to talk about purgatory and
I think
Kafakela.
that just like you were talking about the killing,